Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video about troubleshooting cast bullets, offer a few tips and tricks. So if that's something you want to learn more about, stay tuned. So you can see here we've got a few different sample bullets lined up. The two pairs, the ones on the left have issues, the ones on the right are a little bit better. The first one there on the left, you can see the base isn't properly formed. It's got a very rounded base compared to the one next to it there, the second one. That's got a nice square base, nice square edges, sharp edges. What usually causes that is the alloy being too cold, the mold being too cold, or not being properly smoked, or also not leaving enough of a puddle on top of the sprue plate. When the bullet cools inside the mold, it shrinks a little bit. There's a little bit of shrinkage going on inside there, and it draws some of that puddle down into the cavity to keep it filled out. And if there's not enough liquid alloy on top of that sprue plate, sometimes you'll have that issue come up. Then the third from the right there, you can see is wrinkly. Looks like there's a minor wrinkle on that last one too. The wrinkling is caused most usually by having a mold that's too cold, hasn't come up to proper casting temperature yet, or it could be oil inside the cavity. Especially on new molds, they've got machine oil on them still. It's really important that you clean that out really, really well. I like to use brake parts cleaner in an aerosol can. It really does a good job of getting that oil out of there, especially in conjunction with some cotton swabs. I can really get those cavities good and clean. I've also heard of guys using like Dawn dish soap and water. I don't really like to get water on them because then it takes a while to dry, whereas that brake cleaner really dries fast. I have used alcohol, like rubbing alcohol before, and that's done all right too, but that brake parts cleaner really does a great job of getting them clean. So as I mentioned before, it's important to properly smoke your molds. If you're not familiar with that, basically the idea is to get a layer of soot on the inside of the cavity. So let me see if I can get this in the frame so you can see it. There's some very clean, shiny cavities there. You can see on the surface of the block, the mating surface, there's some soot there. So I'm going to add a little bit more soot to that. And the easiest way I've found to do that is with a candle. A lot of guys use wooden kitchen matches, but what I like to do is just get that right in the flame there of that candle, and you can maybe see that it's starting to put out some soot. So then when I turn that back around, you can see that cavity is nice and black in there. So we're just going to get both cavities on the left hand block, and then I'm going to flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. There we go. And what that soot does, let's get a little more there. What that soot does is it not only allows the bullet to release from the mold when you go to open the mold, but it also allows the alloy to fill the mold a little bit better. There are vent lines. As you can see, they're machined in there. Those arcs, those are vent lines to allow air to escape as the alloy pours into the mold. So it's important to make sure those vent lines are relatively clear. But yeah, so smoking the mold is important. The other thing that I want to point out is these alignment pins. As you can see, like this. These right here, this particular mold is cold. What I'm using to touch that is a stick of beeswax, and I use that beeswax to lubricate not only the alignment pins here, and you just touch it just like that. When it's hot, if you just touch it with beeswax, it'll put a little bit of beeswax on there. You want to be really, really careful though not to get it inside the cavities of the mold. You'll have wrinkly bullets that the only way to fix that is to stop, let your mold cool, and clean it out really well. The other thing I like to do is lubricate that sprue plate screw. Just a little touch of that right there, and it'll wick inside of that and around the screw and under the the wave washer, and really helps keep that opening and closing more consistently and smoother. One more tip to mention about mold fill out. If you're having trouble getting nice crisp edges, getting that mold filled out well, you might need more tin in your alloy. From what I've read, they say about 2% is ideal, and I can't argue that. From my experience, that seems about right. I think the easiest way to procure tin to add to your melt at this point is pewter from thrift shops. You know what, let me grab a piece of pewter and I'll show you. All right, so here I've got a couple pieces of thrift store pewter. The easiest way to identify that it's pewter is to look at the bottom. Almost all pewter, in fact, all pewter that I've come across that I know for sure is pewter has that stamp in the bottom of it that says pewter. The other way you can tell if you're not sure, most of it is thin enough, and pewter is soft, so you can literally just bend it without hardly any effort at all. Yeah, it'll start to tear a little bit like there, but yeah, I mean, it's very, very soft stuff. Here's another one I'll show you, has a little hallmark there. You can see it says pewter, so easy way to identify that it's pewter. If I'm going to talk about adding tin to your alloy, I guess I better talk about antimony too. Some people have the false impression that tin is what's added to make the alloy harder, to make your bullets harder, when in fact antimony is what you want to use to harden it up. The most common sources of antimony are type metals and super hard alloy. Super hard is 30, I think it's 30% antimony to lead alloy sold by Rotometals. It's hard to add straight antimony to lead. You have to alloy those together initially. You have to get it too hot for most people to do at home. So they sell that bar with the sole purpose of adding antimony. Type metals, the two types are linotype and monotype. Linotype is, of course, a line of type, and monotype is one character at a time. So anyway, guys, those are some common issues I've seen people have when they are casting, especially when they're new at it. Hope I covered everything. If there's something I forgot, if there's a problem you're having, leave it down in the comments and I'll try to respond if I've got any experience there and can offer you any tips on that. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.